Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's another edition of JJ and Alex. Hope you had a good day off. If you had the day off yesterday, we did. Anything in sports happen yesterday? I thought it was real nice that the NBA Finals got themselves figured out.
There was some stuff yesterday.
There was.
The Monty Williams firing.
Yeah, that was...
Wow.
That was just more funny than it was. And it was also very predictable.
What are the Pistons doing? I know they got
well,
a new
they're
GM,
very... Here's what you do.
Langdon,
you do this kind of stuff and you go, we are serious. Right? And you're like... What are you going to do? What are you going to do to prove your big program? We're going to do big program things like
right.
What? Overreact, overpay, buy out people who we owe. In Monty Williams' case, is he getting paid out by two teams? Is that a record?
That's correct.
Suns and Pistons.
The Pistons owe him $65 million.
He's basically a guy who is from, middle America, was working a... machining job somewhere and won the lottery.
What a rags to riches story.
He wins the lottery and he goes, I'm going to take the bulk buyout. Right? That's Monty Williams. I'm going to take whatever that big chunk is. I'm going to take it.
I'm telling you, I guarantee you this, that $65 million isn't coming in an annuity. That's a big fat check.
Give me the whole thing.
Whose paycheck am I talking about?
I'm talking about Monty Williams. What was that even in reference to when Will Hardy said that?
I think they're asking about player effort or something. I think it was.
I was like, wait, sorry, are you talking about how much I'm getting paid or are you talking about players?
It could have been both. Who knows?
Either way, anytime you can get a quote like that out of Will Hardy, that means you've gone down a weird rabbit hole. He does not want to live in that space.
I don't care what you post on Instagram.
Yeah. We care what...
I don't either.
Well, look, we're talking about it right now. Again, it's like the Pistons are like, well, what are we going to do to be like the big boys? Let's pay a guy for as long as we can, or have a massive buyout of a guy who has been here 5 minutes. But also, let's make an off the hip hiring. And I want it to be, let me see here. But let's bring in Isaiah Thomas. Who else is another? Yeah, who else is another?
Isaiah Thomas.
At least Isaiah Thomas had some coaching. Has had some coaching under his belt. It was terrible. But I'm like, what would the equivalent of the Pistons hiring a new coach like the Lakers just hired JJ Reddick? What would the equivalent be? How can the Pistons do
Kendrick Perkins?
Get Perk out there.
Get Big Perk.
Oh, Stephen A. Get Stephen A. And at the end of the day, I'm your new coach. No.
He has to walk and strut entering the arena now.
I don't know if you know this. He was a very, very good collegiate player, as he's told us many times.
Right. Yeah.
So, although, look, you don't need to be a good player to be a good coach. Now, when we're watching TV today in the studio, because we have ESPN up, we have all these sports channels up, let's just keep our eyes peeled for the next Detroit Pistons head coach. All right? We make a pact there.
I think you're going to be here for a while. We're going to check in here, and Alex is going to have a big, long beard.
The draft is next week.
Who did the Jazz draft? Alex, it's the All-Star break.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we got to kick the show off. It's just that, look, all we have in our lives, JJ, especially as people who cover the Jazz and for Jazz fans that are listening in, all we have right now is just making fun of the shortcomings of others. I know that comparison is the thief of joy, but not when your joy's already gone. Okay? When your joy's already been ripped from you, comparison and making fun of others who make poor decisions, like the Lakers, like the Detroit Pistons.
The Lakers sucked yesterday, they suck again today.
Oh, listen, Chuck is available after next year.
That's true.
That would exactly be what we're talking about, right?
We'd all love to watch Chuck be a head coach.
Chuck being a head coach it'd be bad because we would, at the end of everything, he would not be successful and we'd be sad about it.
Yeah, but I mean, the Hornets suck. Have him go coach the Hornets. Nobody cares about the Hornets.
Our show is brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. If you're looking for that quick, tasty, nutritious boost, you can find them at Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, Costco, all in the refrigerated section. And it's because they don't have the preservatives, and they're awesome. So give them a shot. It is the G2G bar. All right, let's kick things off as we always do. Let us get into the roundtable of the NBA coaching world, and it's the cut right here at the top of the hour. Let's do it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, and this portion of the show, the cut this hour, brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. Trajan Wealth for your retirement and a local trusted financial fiduciary. There you go. It's easy enough. Go give it a shot, TrajanWealth.com. All right, so let's talk about it. JJ Reddick, now it's always hard. His name was initially floated out there pretty quickly in the process, JJ. And then an actual coach popped up on the radar. I'm not trying to be mean here.
Yeah, you are.
But
it's hard to be very passive.
Now, here's the thing, though. What choice was Mark Pope at Kentucky? Was he the third or fourth choice? It was definitely pretty far down the line.
Could have been fifth or sixth. We don't know, but he don't care.
He didn't care. His bank account doesn't care either. Did you see somebody posted his house for sale down there in the Riverwoods?
We did. I think KSL Sports ran the story.
And I'm such a like a Zillow whore.
Yeah.
I'm that kind of guy that gets on there and goes, oh, wow, I hope this is staged because they didn't pick that painting, did they? I'm that kind of guy that's like, ooh. But then you go up there, too, and you go, wow, that's expensive. That's nice. And then he's getting an even more expensive, more nice house down there in Kentucky.
I bet.
But
he never invited me over for a pool party.
Well,
he's got a nice pool in that
pool's
place
nice.
in Orem.
Yes, nice pool. I bet Dave McCann's like your neighbor or something. You know, it's awesome. So my question is this.
That was a little too inside. Hope Dave doesn't mind me. Sorry.
Look, the $2.5 million neighborhood? Come on, or the $3-point-something million neighborhood?
The executive neighborhood.
It's not attached to Riverside Country Club, though.
Could be. I don't know. No, it's in Orem. Never mind.
Yeah, it's in Orem. Anyway, bottom line is, Mark Pope was at best, the fourth guy that we heard on the list of people that said, nah, right? And in this case, JJ Reddick is definitely not their first choice, but he was in the mix, at least from the beginning. What do you do with a guy who's never been a head coach, is obviously very good? I think JJ Reddick is a phenomenal student of the game. Like, he is very smart. As an analyst, he does a phenomenal job. He obviously has the playing chops to be able to to kind of command some respect from players and things like that. But what is the job that they're asking him to do there in L.A.? What are they asking him to do? Are they asking him to bring a championship there with an aged-out, almost LeBron James, the reason people are turning that job down is there's no hope in the immediate future. And the immediate future in the NBA is the only place where you have hope if you're a guy who's just getting hired, especially in LA.
When it's an organization that has won 17 championships and expects every year to win it, you are, in no matter what the situation, expected to win it, which is why they've gone through so many coaches since Phil Jackson stepped down, 15 years ago?
Yes.
I mean, and Phil Jackson was one of the coaches they went through. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just a LeBron thing here. It's like they have had a lot of coaches this was when Kobe was there. Is they just can't seem to find some consistency, and I think that's on the organization in the front office that has been an absolute clueless mess. Somehow, some way, they stumble into winning. It's LA, so people want to go play for the Lakers, but that's about all they have to brag about. It's no one's going there to play for that organization or those people or whoever's there. The thing I'll say about this is it's not unprecedented. There's been other examples of players who didn't climb the assistant coach ladder and end up getting a head job, whether they were working in the media or a front office. I mean, Danny Ainge even comes to mind. I believe Danny Ainge was a TV analyst when the Suns hired him to be their head coach. Steve Kerr, same thing. Went from TV to coaching, I believe, or he was a GM Well, at what point with the Suns? Anyway, you get my point. Is there's been some guys that have done this. Jason Kidd is another example, although he failed in his first 2 stops.
I was going to say, this is like, I mean, the trial by fire that Jason Kidd has had is that he's now one of the most experienced coaches in the league, right? Like, because he's just been around for so long and he's had a number of jobs that he's failed at. Yeah. And even the Dallas job, at times you look at and you go, this is not the dude for the gig, right? And then
I was really skeptical that would work out.
So here we are. It's gotten a little bit better.
And I'm skeptical this is going to work out. And this has less to do with JJ Reddick and more to do with the organization, is they just have had no patience for their coaches. Now he signs a 4-year deal. I think it's $8 million per year.
Nice.
But by signing that deal, you're telling him and you're telling everybody else that he's going to be the head coach in your rebuild.
Right.
Because is LeBron going to be there for 4 more years? LeBron's 40. Is Anthony Davis going to be there?
No, he's not even going to be there for. No, he's not even going to be there 4 more years.
So you're basically saying, okay, we're going to go with JJ Reddick here because we believe he's the best guy out there. We believe he's going to help us compete while we have LeBron, but we know we're not going to have LeBron long. You got to expect that JJ Reddick's part of your rebuilding, which could happen here shortly. So I don't think this is going to end in a championship. I don't see that path. But I will say this, and this is why I think there is some possibility of it working, at least on the short term, is LeBron respects JJ Reddick. I mean, LeBron and JJ Reddick just started doing an X's and O's podcast, right? They were working together on a project. There's some mutual respect there.
There will be a brand of wine that those two collaborate on, right?
Yeah.
What is Jake Scott? Jake's meaner about this. Jake's meaner about everything typically, but what did he call him? He's like, I mean, you basically have a semi-pro sommelier who's you're going to hire as your head basketball coach. I'm going to give JJ Reddick more credit than that. And yet at the same time, how do you do it with a guy who's never been a head coach? Do you have assistants already there in place that you say you need to make it work with these experienced assistants, or do you say bring in your team of assistants? And then he goes, I ain't got one.
It's 100%.
I don't have.
He's got to build a staff. It's his. He's the boss.
I know, it's terrible.
He's the head coach. I don't think they're going to carry anybody over from the last regime. I mean, the Darvin Ham era was not great. I don't know who's on their staff or who was off the top of my head, but they're not rolling anything over from that. They're going to start fresh here, and I think they hope that this is going to help them get back to where they were a couple years ago, which is competing for a championship. You know, they won one in the bubble in 2020. They were in the conference finals in 2023. They think they're not far. I think they're way far away, but they don't. I think they believe that they're a coach away, which blows my mind, but that's where they're at. And it obviously is not their first choice, but we heard rumors about JJ Reddick before the whole Dan Hurley thing was going on. So they've obviously liked him and had him as a target.
Back to the Monty Williams mess in Detroit. Across the country right now, this is NBA basketball. This is professional hoops, all right? So these teams make bad decisions. They're going to be in the black still, right? When this happens in other sports, when this happens in college football, who's on the hook typically? Like some donors, right?
Yeah, boosters.
And a lot of times boosters will come forward and go, I'll pay the $40 million myself out of my oil money so that we can get rid of this hack, right? Next year, you ready for this? Next year, public universities will be paying out coaches who are not coaching them a combined $135 million.
Wow.
That's listen, there's
$35 million to have people go away.
Public universities. So you have private schools that don't have to report jack squat on that side, right? And then the public universities that, by the way, half of those are in the South where they're like, well, yeah, that's the name of doing business. That's what you pay, man. That's the price.
Do you think I care?
I know. Of course you don't care. Alabama fans, especially if you get a title out of it.
Yeah.
So $135 million next year from public universities. Dana Holgorsen, who is at the absolute worst program in the Big 12 last year, is getting paid over the next 3 seasons $14.5 million to not coach Houston.
Wow.
We, of course, know what Gus Malzahn is. He's getting some money. Jimbo Fisher's getting. The thing is Jimbo Fisher is like half of that money right there that I just mentioned. Jimbo Fisher's like what?
76
million going to Jimbo Fisher for not coaching. So between Jimbo Fisher and The state of Texas itself is probably responsible for $100+ million of this, right? It's insane. This is where we've gotten now. We'll hire you, and here's the contract. It actually doesn't mean jack squat. We're just going to fire you and pay you out anyway. That's where we're at here. That's where they've gotten. So,
how about this? So you mentioned these coaches. Gus Malzahn.
Yes, Gus Malzahn. What does he get?
On that list, $21.5 million from Auburn.
Auburn, while he's coaching UCF.
So
he's coaching another school.
Owed that. So half of it, $10.275, was paid within 30 days of termination.
Nice.
He got $10 million for getting fired.
Okay, where'd that come out of?
I don't know. Somebody's paying for it. But how about this?
Dig it up off of Toomer's Corner. What's that? Isn't that what it's called?
Dude,
Come on.
Maybe Bo Jackson's paying for it. I have no idea.
Jackson.
I'm trying to think of the most famous Auburn. Well, Charles Barkley.
Maybe Chuck.
Charles Barkley's paying for it.
Maybe Chuck threw it in
Charles
there.
Barkley's lost $21 million in gambling debts. He has no problem buying out
Maybe
Gus
Bo
Malzahn.
Nix chipped in some of his signing bonus
Yeah, right.
to his former university.
So that was half, remember?
Yeah.
So the rest of it's being paid annually in $2.68 million installments. He's the head coach at UCF, who's paying him $11.5 million over 5 years. So he's getting double pay right now. It's crazy.
I love it. So
good for these coaches.
Look, that's just at the college football level. So basketball is kind of the same way, right?
The Monty Williams.
But Hugh Freeze is kind of the same way, right?
From his deathbed. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was funny.
Who's the guy with the?
Every time you mention Hugh Freeze, I think of the hospital.
I know. Who's the guy with the neck brace on? It was Bobby Petrino.
Oh yeah, Petrino.
Everybody's favorite scumbag in college football coaching.
He's still coaching.
Yes, he is.
It's gross.
The Good Old Boys Club is real and it's alive. I'm just telling you, these are insane. These are insane things that are going on right now. And Monty Williams getting paid $65 million from the checks notes, the Detroit freaking Pistons.
Worst team in the league.
By far. And by the way, how is it the Detroit? Is it just as simple as having a brand new front office? It's got to be that, right?
No, Trajan Langdon came in and he decided he wanted to move on from the coach.
Right. He had an incoming interview where he's like, I want to sit down with Monty and see where we're at here. Didn't like what he saw in terms of goals. What did he hear from Monty Williams that he didn't like? Was Monty like, this place is a hellhole? I hate it. We're never going to win here. I don't know. I don't know how you can. And here's the thing, too. Detroit's ownership had to walk up and go. Detroit's ownership had to say, hey, we're okay with this. If you don't like what you see, hey, blank check. We'll pay out Monty and we'll hire whoever it is that you want. Because now the coaching search is on. And last time I checked, we watched all these idiots go through and try to hire other people right now, and there's no good coaches that are available. Right?
So a little more background on this that I just read is, and this has happened to Monty Williams twice in a row.
Yeah, he's getting paid by two teams right now.
He wasn't fired by the GM. He was fired by the owner.
From the Suns or from the Pistons?
The Suns, remember? The Suns owner, the Ishbia?
Yeah, Matt Ishbia.
He's like he made the decision to fire him because he felt like they needed to go
and he's a basketball guy. He knows everything.
They're on there. They've fired two coaches in 3 years. Unbelievable. And then so Tom Gores, the Pistons owner, made the decision to part with Monty Williams. Trajan Langdon just had to deliver the news. Pretty crazy.
It's bonkers. And you know what it is? It's all fun for me to watch from my seat here in Utah.
I'm not paying the bill.
I'm okay.
It's good entertainment.
I'm okay with everybody else screwing it up. If that means, but here's what you're never going to get here, because you're not going to have a ridiculous owner, at least right now, who's going to pull the trigger and make these insane. There's a reason why Utah is always on those lists, right? Of like, hey, franchises that have their crap together. Utah's always right there. Why? Solid ownership. It went from one good ownership group to another. They don't. Why would you do what the Pistons just did if you were the Jazz ever? Unless the person was extremely toxic. Unless the person was so beyond capable of what they could do that they couldn't do it anymore. The thing was though that would still be on the Jazz as an organization who did not make the right choice in hiring the right guy, right? Doing the doing the work and finding out a little bit of who these guys are, who you're going to hire, like that's on these guys. So if they just look at it and go, oh, it's a failure of Monty Williams. Monty Williams was in the biggest dumpster fire in the NBA for the last, 2 seasons?
Just one, right?
Was it just 1 year? One season.
1 year. That's why they buy
And they
out so
knew
big.
they were going to be garbage. They knew it. So I don't know what it was that they expected. So this is never on Monty Williams.
And the draft is a week from the second round. It's 6 days. The draft is 6 days away. The second round is a week from today. The first round is Wednesday.
Oh, my goodness.
And they just fired their head coach.
Again, like I said, I get a lot of joy. I know that comparison's a thief of joy. But if you're a Jazz fan right now, you haven't had joy for a while. So you can't take joy from me. I love watching other people flail. If I'm a Jazz fan, if it's the Lakers, I feel even better. The Lakers just hire a guy who's never been a head coach. Fantastic. Makes them feel great. The Detroit Pistons, don't care what they're even doing over there, but you know what? The Jazz are not that big of a dumpster fire compared to those guys. So there you go. We'll come back. More to go around the corner. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie here, Jeremiah Jensen over there. Let me see here. Oh, you're rocking out?
A little bit arrogant. I can't help it. It's Master Puppets.
I know.
I'm just supposed to sit here and be reverent?
Oh, I've got to...
I'm not folding my arms
Hey,
during
listen.
Master Puppets.
Listen, I forgot.
on.
You know, you're... Now that we work together every day, you've already been... victim of this. I will send you the dumbest freaking stuff that I find on Instagram or on Twitter, whatever. Which is that's a healthy relationship, right?
Absolutely.
So I forgot to send this one to you. Someone mashed together Metallica, Enter Sandman with Huey Lewis and the News. Like it was a perfect mashup.
Well, I know what we're doing during the break.
Hey, Jeremy. Find one of the most unholy marriages of like
Huey
could you imagine
Lewis and the News.
Huey Lewis and the News, and it like basically is the same. We'll have to find it. I can't even describe it because it sounds like Huey Lewis and the News. It sounds like Metallica, and you know it's one of these accounts. I think it's like There I Ruined It For You or something like that. It's one of those.
Yeah.
But the mashup they did of Huey Lewis and the News and Metallica, I was like, JJ will, 1, hate this, and 2, kind of appreciate
It's
it.
right up my alley.
That's where we're at. Oh,
He's
you
got
found
it.
it? I was
Okay.
going to say, that's
Oh,
quick.
you got me all
I
excited.
know, we got a
there, Jeremy.
guest on.
I was like, I can't wait to hear this.
I wasn't going to make our guest have to start talking about this. By the way, joining us on the program right now.
Let's not do that to Connor.
Connor Hope, Heat Check CBB. If you have not gone to their website before and you see what they do there, the breakdown of college basketball is real. And, of course, we are now a college basketball state. Maybe more than football. I don't know. BYU's making a push for it.
Yeah.
Connor, thanks for being with us. Can you believe the dealings BYU's been doing in the offseason so far?
No, not at all. I mean, I trusted Kevin Young to come in and make a mark. I did not expect Mark Pope to leave, take what he did via current players and future recruits with him, and then Kevin Young to go out and sign 3 of the top 10 ranked recruits in BYU history. Like, it's what he's done this offseason as a brand new head coach at a power conference school is nothing short of incredible.
You have the combination of his hiring along with some booster help. Let's be very honest that they're finding a way to pay some of these kids, but that's the new age. Are you looking at BYU and saying, wow, that's a new way for a program if it wants to make a splash? In college basketball is that way where you don't have to pay 25 players. You find 2 or 3 guys, and all of a sudden you're a national. You're on the national landscape.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the guys they got, I think, fit together well. And, you have players that can come in immediately. It's not, we've had issues in the past with BYU where they get a high-level recruit who doesn't come to the school for 2 years. And we saw that this offseason flipped their recruitment at the last minute because of the Mark Pope to Kentucky move. But the three freshmen they have coming in this year should contribute immediately. The ability to keep a lot of those players, a lot of the existing players on the team helps tremendously. And then I actually like the two transfers that they added this offseason as well. I think this is going to be a solid team that should be very competitive in the middle to upper half of the Big 12.
Well, let's stay here locally then, too. And BYU's had a phenomenal offseason, and now it's become, in a lot of people's minds, they're like, I guess this is a basketball school now. I guess this is the reality until the football team kind of proves themselves. That'll probably be the case. The school up north, you've got the University of Utah, who has, interestingly enough, they're coming into a very, very competitive conference, and they've gone the other direction. That's a team who has a Final Four background, an Elite Eight history, a national championship game in recent memory that they participated in 1998. What is it that Utah has to do to kind of start competing then? Now, it used to be, how does BYU compete with Utah? And now it's flipped.
Yeah, I think it's just going to take time. We saw that when BYU and the others joined the Big 12. BYU and Houston immediately successful. The other two, still kind of competitive, but not as successful as those two. I think we're going to see something similar with the four schools entering the Big 12 this year. I think that Arizona is going to be very competitive, but you've already seen it with Colorado and their roster moves. You've seen it with Utah and their roster moves. I just don't look at that Utah roster and think that's a team that can compete in the Big 12. But I think being in the Big 12 and not having the uncertainty of the Pac-12 hanging over them, being able to kind of recruit in the region a little bit more to compete at the Big 12 level, I think should help them down the road. But for now, I like some of the pieces they added, but I still think they're probably 2 to 3 years away from being truly competitive.
Oh, I would agree with you on that. Back to BYU real quick. The two additions that really, really sparked a lot of buzz. Cannon Catchings recently, just this past week, and then Jaeger Doman, the Russian player who's been with Real Madrid. What do you know about those two players? And obviously they're very highly ranked. How good are these guys projected to be?
Yeah, so I haven't been able to watch Damon too closely, but Cannon Catchings is a bit of a tweener forward right now. Depending on where you look, people will consider him a 3 or a 4. I think he probably has a little bit more work with his ball handling and his on-ball skill to be a 3. I think he's better suited right now to play the 4. But he's a big wing that can shoot the hell out of the ball, and he has athleticism, can play above the rim. He should fit in nicely, and he's a player that the reason why, or one of the contributing factors to him leaving Purdue and flipping his commitment was the fact that he's looking right now to make an immediate impact and a big impact for a program. And given what Purdue had returning, he was probably looking at a spot clearly off the bench. Cam Heide for Purdue, not to talk about Purdue too much, I think earned himself a starting role at the 3. But I think that Cannon Catchings can come in and either be the 6th man or a starting 3, starting 4 that could be a high-level scorer at the Big 12 level.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about what the future of college basketball looks like in the biggest stage that college basketball has every year, which is the NCAA tournament. What is an expansion? What's the reality of an expansion for the tournament look like? Is it one of those things where we're like, hey, look, it's just going to happen. You're going to have to deal with it. Or are people kind of getting a little bit more of the, hey, let's let cooler heads prevail here and not have a 70-something team tournament. We've already got a 68 team tournament. That should be enough. How is this thing going to go? And it's starting to pick up speed again. At least the talk about expanding the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable. I think, especially with the Pac-12 going away and the now four power conferences plus the Big East continuing to grow, you're going to see a lot more teams that feel that they deserve to be in the tournament, but don't necessarily have the record to back it up, want to be in the tournament. And it's going to be very hard to put them in as an at-large over a team with 4 or 5 losses out of the A-10 or 4 or 5 losses out of the Missouri Valley. And so expanding the tournament by 8 gives the opportunity for teams like Providence or some of those other Big East teams from last year to get into the tournament. The one silver lining, I think, for the smaller conferences is that when you look at that tournament, an expanded tournament, it's probably going to be 4 additional at-larges in Dayton or wherever they're going to host the 4 extra games, and 2 additional games with regards to the 16 seeds. So, and the benefit to the smaller conferences being that those 16 versus 16 first 4 games count as a unit and give the conference that wins an additional unit. So now instead of getting smoked by a 1 seed and only getting 1 unit, the conference has an opportunity, and we're talking the HBCU conferences, we're talking the NEC, they have an opportunity to earn 2 units, and that money can go a long way in allowing them to continue to compete, continue to schedule well moving forward.
You know, I want it to stay at 68. I like it how it is. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, but I'm also not naive or dumb. I know they want to make more money, so I get why they're doing this. But who would benefit the most from this? I think that's my biggest concern, because I don't want to see like the 12th best team in the Big 12 make the tournament. I just that doesn't, and I feel like that's the power of people want that to happen. Who benefits the most from possible expansion?
So the teams that benefit the most, it's the conferences at the bottom. The 16 seeds would benefit just because they're going to be there regardless. Now they get an opportunity to get a win and an extra unit.
Okay.
And then it's going to be those teams with a, 8-12, 7-13 record in the Big 10 or Big 12. Because I think when you look at those conferences now, a team that is 8-12 in the Big 10 with 4 additional teams in that conference has a strong argument for being in the top 40 teams and 42 teams in the country. And I think it's going to be tougher and tougher for the committee to do what seems like the committee wants to do, which is put those middle-of-the-road power conference teams in over the Indiana states of the world. And so if we start to see more of those Indiana states get in because the records for those middle-of-the-road Big 10, Big 12 teams are so poor, the expansion is going to be to get those middle-of-the-road teams in while still allowing the Indiana states to benefit. So I think we're going to see before expansion, I personally think we're going to see more mid-majors get at-larges, and by more I mean 1 or 2 additional. But then after expansion, I'm expecting that to be almost exclusively power conference teams.
And that would be gross.
Connor,
just being honest. Nobody wants to see that.
No, I know. Look, we all
Those
love the
teams
tournament.
had their chances in their major conference.
We love the tournament, but at some point we go, what are we doing? You start adding all those teams. What are we doing? And it's just, you can't help but do the cynical thing, Connor, and go, yeah, it's for money. That's it. They're just getting us for some extra dough, and that's fine. It is what it is.
It is for money, but when the choice is expanding it by 8 or the nuclear option that was suggested by people like Bob Huggins of having just a separate tournament for the power conference teams, I'd much rather the money grab be 8 extra teams in March Madness.
That's fair. I agree with you on that.
I think we can all agree that Bob Huggins doesn't deserve to give any pointers on anything anymore. So I think that's where we've gotten with him. Connor Hope, heatcheckcbb.com. They do a phenomenal job over there, and of course, all year long we lean on them for the tournament kind of bracketology that they produce, and it's a great website. Go check it out and go read Connor's byline right there. Heatcheckcbb.com. Connor, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk with you again.
Yeah, always fun to hop on. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Connor Hope, everybody. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got our Would You Rather right around the corner. You don't want to miss it. By the way, coming up next hour, it's that time of the week for us to be able to jump in and give you our Hercules Hero of the Week. Go to KSLSports.com/contest. You can nominate your youth sports volunteer in your area that you know that is deserving of the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination, KSLSports.com/contest. We'll read those off on Thursdays. We're going to do it in about 40 minutes here. So stay tuned. It's all brought to you by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. We'll come back. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
Hip to be square, JJ. I just love that it has like...
All I know right now is it's bringing me a lot of joy. So, is it terrible? Of course it is. But man, is it amazing.
Here it is. To Neverland. with like the little Rhodes piano in the back.
Oh man, that is perfection.
I know.
That's one of the best mashups I've ever heard.
Huey Lewis and Metallica, Enter Sandman. There you go. It does. It's makes you feel dirty. Makes you feel like you need a shower afterward.
Man, it's
all right.
It's just it's so bad it's good.
Oh, with the little trumpet and everything in the back.
I like how they mix the guitar riffs and the trumpet from both songs.
They made it way too. Enter Sandman's got to be dark, but this is too happy.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like a 1980s sitcom. See what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds like a sitcom.
What's the name of that? All right, kill that music because then I gotta think about it. It's
like Perfect Strangers or something going on
Man, the Paperboy, Evening TV. Remember what's that?
Family Matters.
Yes.
There? The Family Matters.
Yeah. Oh, Full House.
Oh, was that Full House? Sorry, I'm mixing up my ABC
Everywhere
sitcoms.
you look. Yeah.
That's right. That's Full House.
Awful. Jeremy.
Hip to be square.
Good pull. Jeremy, good pull.
That was great. That made my day.
Would you rather? Brought to you by the official debit card of Utah Jazz, University of Utah Sports, and Real Salt Lake, and more. Exclusively American First Credit Union. There you go. Very quickly here. Would you rather have the richest contract ever as a coach with minimal success, or get an 8-figure buyout and never coach again? So like limited success, but you're still coaching, you're still getting paid, or you're getting paid and you just get to hang out.
Can I just take the Huey Lewis Metallica mashup instead? Can I take door number 3?
I don't hate it. I don't hate the listen.
Look, if I'm being honest here,
everybody wants to be good at something, and you want to be able to actually have something you can hang your hat on.
Nobody wants to be a punchline. Look, you can have all the money in the world, but if nobody respects you and they think you were terrible at what you did for a living and that's your identity, what a horrible existence that would be, right?
Yeah, but all I can think of is the meme of the guy.
Give the money back, and I want to be great at something.
The guy drying his eyes with the $100 bills, though.
Yeah,
that's
okay,
me.
Maybe you're right.
That's me. I don't care.
Right
give me
before
the buyout.
you throw him on the fire.
Yeah, give me the buyout. All right. I'm glad we go different directions on that. Chris Mamet here with us, president of Ute Stampede in studio. I always love being able to chat with Chris. Normally, it is right outside of the stadium at the Juab County Fairgrounds. I thought it would be nice for you to come to our home turf. We have air conditioning. But I will say this. every year that we've done the Ute Stampede Rodeo, it's like phenomenal weather. Like, by the way, the big events that happen in the evenings too. The sun goes down, it's cool out. Plus, you're drowning your sorrows in lemonade and corn dogs from the carnival food anyway. So if people are not familiar with the Ute Stampede Rodeo, they can get money off of tickets right now. It's a great family event. It's just awesome down there. It's like one of the 90 years of celebrating this thing, Chris. So welcome to the studio, man.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate the time. Yeah, 90 years. It's hard to believe that an event has lasted that long, anywhere. But we're super proud of what it is and what it represents. And this year we've added our bull riding. We have had it in the fall. This year we've added it to our regular lineup on the week of our rodeo, so it's on the 10th. And we do have a special going on. If you buy a ticket to the bull riding, you can get a ticket to the Thursday night PRCA show for half price, which is about $6.
That's awesome.
How big has the PRCA affiliation been for you guys? I mean, if that gets the attention of rodeo fans everywhere.
Yeah, we get asked that a lot, and it is big because it would be, like the Jazz coming to Nephi or something like that, right? It's the pro level. Pro guys, and we're blessed in Utah. We have a lot of pro rodeo athletes that are local here. Casey Fields, one of our good friends, he lives just up the road. The Wrights, it's really a fun thing to be able to bring that level of competition, that level of livestock, and that level of entertainment to our town.
So, all the stuff that people can participate in, there's music, there's food, there's the carnival, there's all the stuff that's going on around it. It just makes out to be a really, really good family event too. Like this is an all ages thing. Bring everybody out and let's enjoy it. There's not a lot of that these days.
Truly a family fun event. As long as I've been on this committee, that's our motto has always been family fun. So everything we do is family friendly, family fun, and it really is a family reunion type atmosphere. We have a lot of families that started out in Nephi or maybe a surrounding community. They grow and maybe they move out of town and maybe they move up this way. And it's a time for them to come back together and enjoy not only family time, but a little bit of entertainment. Like you said, we got music before the show every day, music after the show. Car show, craft show. There's lots of things happening around the event itself.
If you're in Utah County, even if you're like in Lehigh, it's like a 50-minute drive down to Nephi. You might think to yourself, oh, that's a long, long way away. The reality is, if you're in Provo, it's like a 30, 35-minute drive. And so easy enough to get there. You get the family there. You pack them all up. And if they've never been there, it's a whole atmosphere. The whole thing is just fun. And so people might think in their head, oh, it's a long way away. But the reality is that it's actually a lot closer. And you do a lot more for a lot less, when you try to entertain your family. So going to the Stampede Rodeo down there at the Juab County Fairgrounds is you got to do it. If you've never done it before, it's really, really fun. So let me send people to the website, UteStampedeRodeo.com. That's UteStampedeRodeo.com. Find your tickets there. Dates on there as well. All of the different events that you can go to, and they're consolidating it all inside of a good couple of weeks there, so that you don't have to say, oh, we'll go here and then we'll wait until the fall for the next event. You can get it all right here. UteStampedeRodeo.com. Get that money off of those tickets and take the family to enjoy something that they've maybe never done before, or make it another tradition for you and your young family. Chris Memmott, president of the Ute Stampede Rodeo here. Chris, thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time.
Let's take a break here. We'll come back. You got more to go right around the corner. Stay right here. 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. Second hour of the program. Thanks for being with us here, JJ and Alex, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. Hold on. Did you say some? Did you say he had some NBA trade from the NBA trade breaking news desk, we have some
play the sound.
A little bit of something
There it
extra here.
is.
JJ, what are you finding out here? It looks like
breaking news from the NBA. A trade has gone down. An interesting deal involving the Chicago Bulls and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
What?
The Bulls are trading two-time all-defensive guard Alex Caruso to the Oklahoma City Thunder for their guard Josh Giddey, according to ESPN. Woj just dropping the bomb within the hour.
Well, say what you will.
Sam Presti's done it again.
Josh Giddey is out of Oklahoma City, which is probably better for everybody.
Yeah, and Caruso makes the Thunder better.
Isn't that wild? Imagine if you're Alex Caruso 3 years ago. How long has he been with the Bulls? 2 seasons? 1? Imagine being Alex Caruso and you're playing with LeBron. You're on this, everybody's starting to recognize you. You're starting to make some shots. And you get traded to the Bulls. And that's an awful freaking team, even though it's a historic franchise. And the best situation that it could have happened to you in your entire career is going to Oklahoma City. That's
crazy.
Where Alex Caruso's at right now. You go from L.A. to Chicago to Oklahoma City Thunder, and this is the closest to winning a legit title as you're going to get. And by the way, he's going to be a big piece of that puzzle, right?
He is. 4 years in L.A., 3 in Chicago. He's entering his 8th NBA season. And this is exactly...
Did he win a bubble title?
He did. He was on the bubble title team.
See, he's got championship DNA.
He does. And the Thunder need a veteran presence like that. Somebody who can go mix it up. Like I said, he's been on 2-time all-defensive team and an NBA champion. So those are things that the Thunder need right now. So the Thunder do upgrade there. He's 30 years old. Went to Texas A&M. But he's carved out a really nice niche for himself in the NBA. He's got toughness. He's got respect around the league. And he makes the Thunder better. Giddey basically wasn't even part of the. I mean, he almost played himself out of the rotation in the playoffs. He was not good.
So on top of the off the court
stuff,
of
the off the court drama that he caused,
right.
I think the Thunder are ready to move on. And it just goes to show the Thunder have hit on a lot of picks, and Josh Giddey they missed on.
Are there other assets part of this deal?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, that's a slam freaking dunk for Sam Presti, right?
Exactly.
Gosh dang it. Don't you hate that the West just keeps getting better?
And Caruso is in the final year of a contract, so they have an expiring term there,
Oh.
so that they can make a decision whether to extend him or not.
Man, that Thunder team's going to be...
But they are, according to Woj...
I don't want to overplay...
The Thunder want him to be part of their long-term plan.
What was Alex Caruso's numbers last year in a Bulls uniform? Oh, they're on sale now. They're already on sale, by the way,
That's
Caruso
quick.
jerseys.
Jeez.
Get the old number 6. 10 points a game? What was assists? 3.5 assists a game. He's going to be a solid player for him. I mean, he'll immediately go in there.
They got enough stars. They need guys like Caruso.
Right.
They
Take
need
some
guys
pressure
that
off
will
of the-
play a certain role
Yes.
that have that experience.
You got to get somebody to take the pressure off of SGA, right? Like have him just be that solid guy, bringing the ball up the floor, or just being somebody who's able to kind of just be able to help out enough to make sure that your superstars can stay superstars. So there you go. Man, I was hoping there was going to be some Jazz news. Although, did you see when you see the names that are out there that are available that don't want to be? I saw that Brandon Ingram is possibly on the trading block, right?
Yeah. And another name here to watch now that the Bulls have moved Caruso for Giddey is they are trying very aggressively to make a deal for their what's his name? The star for the Bulls, Zach LaVine.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
Sorry, I had a brain pause there, brain cramp. But Zach LaVine is on the trade block,
which we've also heard his name in multiple.
Nobody's been taking, but apparently that's not the case. So another report I saw out there was because the free agent market is a little lean. Apparently, word is getting out where people want to go, and not a lot of guys are going to be moving around. All of a sudden, the interest in Zach LaVine has skyrocketed. And so look for some rumors and some moving and shaking going on around Zach LaVine. Now, would the Jazz be interested in Zach LaVine? I don't think so. I don't think the timeline's right. I don't think the money's right. I don't think that's a player that helps them long term. I don't feel like that's a place where they could go, but that's a player. We talk about big game hunting. If Danny Ainge is out there trying to, see what's available, that is a player that is very well known that could be available.
So tell me the day that the NBA draft is. NHL draft is next Friday, right?
NHL draft is
next Friday.
Next Friday, yep.
The NBA draft
is Wednesday night for the first round, Thursday night for the second round.
There's lots going on next week. Jeez.
It is a busy week.
But do you think that Landry Fields, who's the GM for the Hawks, by the way, do you think he's just blowing smoke out there saying, "Oh no, we're keeping that number 1 overall pick"? Or, I mean, I guess there's always a deal to be made, but is there a deal to be made? And is this a draft that you want to see? And this is something we can ask Ben Anderson next hour when he comes on with us. Is it interesting enough for the Jazz to make a play to get that number 1 overall pick? Because in a year when a team gets the number 1 overall pick, when there's not really a superstar on the list for them to get, that seems like on paper a time where a team like the Jazz could come in and go, "Hey, we like somebody at that spot." Is that something that could potentially happen with the Jazz's draft, or are they going to punt down the road to next year's draft?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Because this is a draft where you could make that deal. If you really loved somebody, I think there's a lot of teams in the first round, especially up high. In most years, there's no way you could get one of those picks.
And there's not a consensus number 1, like
there
for
is not.
Sure that's the guy going first.
Rizachet.
Excuse you.
See, I'm talking about most years, like everybody knew who Wemby was last year. I mean, you say Wemby, and everybody around the world knows who Wembanyama is.
When you talk about like
you talk about Zachary Rizachet.
Excuse you.
From France, nobody knows who I'm talking about.
It's a lot better for me to talk about who's the guard from Kentucky, Reed Shepherd.
Right.
That's an easier name to throw out there. But then you've got Donovan, who's the guy to UConn? Klingon, right?
Yeah, he's another guy that's up there.
He's thrown out there as a possible number 1 overall. So when you don't have a specific, like, oh, for sure it's going to be that guy, a consensus, this person's going to go first, you have teams that might kind of fracture off from one another in that race and go, dude, we need Donovan Klingon. Dude, we need Reed Shepherd, right?
Well, here's a name that I think you look at, Stephon Castle. He's a guy that he would give the Jazz that 3-and-D wing that they would like to add to their roster. Championship DNA, won titles at UConn. But can you get him? You'd have to probably move up to the top 4. So is this a moment?
And is it worth doing it in a draft like this?
And this is where I'm getting to your question. This is a draft where you probably could make that big of a move without having to give up the world. But is he worth it? Which player in this draft is worth that? Is Rizachet worth that? Is Alex Sarr worth that? I mean, the Wizards need Alex Sarr. Is he going to be the difference in their rebuild? Maybe you could offer the Wizards something that they would have more interest in, maybe picks down the road. I mean, the Jazz will have 3 first-round picks next year unless they convey their own to the Thunder, but we know they have the Timberwolves and the Cavaliers picks next year. Now, are those going to be great, high? No, probably not. I think both of those teams are, in the top third of the league next year.
Sure.
The Jazz rolled the dice on that, and, there's not going to be lottery picks is my point. But if you're the Jazz, you have to weigh that out. And the Jazz have enough assets to go chase that if they wanted to. I don't know that that's wise, and I don't know if this is the draft. But it's the kind of draft where you could do it, but I don't know if it's worth the price.
All right. Let's shift some things over to, by the way, this program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients, no preservatives. Make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Hey, Jeremy, I know it's late, but let's do the cut. We'll get to it. We'll make this official. Let's get to some hockey talk here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Aha, look at that. We've got music for everything. Somebody's got music for everything. Love it. All right, so yes. By the way, the cut brought to you by the Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Nobody knows service like Doug, and nobody knows cars like Doug. Nobody knows the car that you want the most like Doug. Here, Doug. Doug Smith Dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. All right, so there you go. JJ, we have it's every day that there's a little piece of news, it becomes a little bit more real with the Utah Hockey Club. Preseason schedule's out. A home opener for the team is also going to be on the 23rd of September. I mean, we're getting close here. Like, mark it off. The calendar is going to look like this. They've got their first preseason matchup is going to be against the Blues. Isn't that weird, too, to just even say that?
Wow, that's so cool.
And that one's not going to be here. It's at the Wells Fargo Arena in Des Moines, Iowa. And then...
so I'm going to be traveling to Des Moines? Is that what you're telling me?
I think it's pronounced Des Moines.
Okay. We got to work on that. different geography we're going to have to
do that. You go out to Des Moines.
Is that in
Quebec? Quebecois. No, but listen, you don't need to go out there because the very next night they're going to be taking on the Kings here at the Delta Center. Yeah, just stay here.
We're used to having a little October hockey at Delta Center, but it's usually
not like this.
It's not like this.
Not like this.
This is cool.
So you're going to have a couple things that are cool off of this preseason schedule. And I know that what did we hear from Ryan Smith and from everybody that we've talked to about preseason hockey? It's not great. But it's preseason freaking hockey, and it's even if it's not the highest quality that you get of regular season, we get it. If you go to a preseason NFL game, you know by the third quarter, the guy who's playing quarterback for either team is likely not going to be in the league even that year. Might be on a practice squad. But you know what it is? It's a freaking NFL game, all right? And in this case, this is brand new to us. So St. Louis in Iowa on the 22nd of September, they come right back to Salt Lake City, which is where they're going to have their preseason opener against the Kings. Does that mean that the normal, so the Frozen Fury preseason stuff's off? But it is. I get it. They're not branding it the Frozen Fury thing, but the Kings are still coming to town for a preseason game.
Which is cool.
It's a win-win.
It's great.
It's still happening. Then they go to Vegas. They go to Colorado. They go to San Jose. They go to Anaheim. And then they come back and wrap things up. Are you ready for this little twist? Taking on Colorado. The Avalanche are coming to town, and they're playing them at the Maverick Center.
That's cool.
That is this slate right here. This is just a freaking preseason. But, yeah, we do need to probably have somebody in every city in every one of those nights. I'll volunteer as tribute. Like, if you want to go down to Vegas, I'll go to Colorado. I'll have Sam go to San Jose. We'll wrap it up with you back down there in Anaheim to wrap up the roadie.
I just want to make that. I want to make that Edmonton trip. When is that going to happen?
Do you?
Get me to the plains of Alberta. Drag me to Alberta.
I thought with the felony you don't get the passport anymore.
Dang it!
I think you'll make it.
I'll have to move on then.
we got that new passport office coming to Utah. Thanks, Mitt Romney.
That's right.
So
get that cleared up.
We'll get you dialed up. You can go over there and plead your case over there. Okay. All right. So at the very least, we have preseason hockey that's lined up in the state of Utah in 3 months. JJ, 3 months.
So cool.
From right now. We're going to be playing preseason NHL hockey.
And they're going to have they're going to have a little rookie draft pick game.
Oh yeah, what's that about?
In July.
It's like a 4-on-4, what's it called? It's not an exhibition. It's basically like a little get together. Yeah, draft picks and rookie.
Like a prospect development camp.
Yeah, like an exhibition.
Some stuff going on. Yeah,
4-on-4 exhibition.
And NHL draft picks versus rookies exhibition.
Very fun. Very fun.
All this it's just surreal that we're talking about all this.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, and this might be a function of just kind of what's going on at the stadium that time of year, but 5 out of the 7 preseason games are not going to be played at Delta Center. And that's okay. You just keep getting us more and more excited about it.
Colorado makes sense. The Grizzlies are a Avalanche affiliate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why not?
And I know that the Frozen Fury, actual branded preseason game is cooked. But guess what? The Kings are coming here to play the Utah Hockey Club. So I'm getting excited about it. All right. Joining us in studio, nice enough to hang out with us all day today, He's the president of the Ute Stampede Rodeo. He is Chris Memmott, somebody who's been on these airwaves many, many times. And it's that time of year for us to be able to kind of make that pitch for the Juab County Fairgrounds, Chris. And I know sometimes, it sometimes just takes people going down there the one time and figuring out, oh, my goodness, this is something, it's a little bit of a gem that if you've never taken your family there, it's something that people have been making a tradition for their family for a long, long time. And this is not the $90 ticket to that one football game for one kid. This is the entire family getting in at a low price. Plus, you're getting money off just by listening today. It's a win-win for everybody. But at its core, you brought it up the last time we were just chatting about this. It's a family event, man.
Yeah, it is. And that's probably the single most thing that we're proud of is our family-friendly atmosphere and the things that we do with the carnival, with the events inside of the rodeo, the food, everything is basically built around the family and the family having a good time when they come out to the show.
What I love going down to Nephi. Been there many times, a lot of times for football and stuff like that. But for the rodeo, it's just the community atmosphere. There's just something special. I grew up around, in small town, grew up going to rodeos. There's just something special in the summer about going to those kind of events, and this Ute Stampede really has that feel, right?
The atmosphere, we're super proud of our atmosphere as well. That's another thing. It's built around a break in the summer. The old farming communities, between their second and third cuts of hay, traditionally would take a break and have a celebration. That's what this is. It's just basically a break in the middle of the summer to get together with your family and celebrate. It's to its core a celebration of community and family and friends.
Listen, I don't have to sell anybody on carnival food, but you'll go down there and it's a tradition. The funnel cake and the corn dogs.
Corn dogs.
Oh man,
we're talking about.
We have City of Fun and Pam Melendez. She has the best. We have people driving up before the show even starts, on now Tuesday. I was about to say Wednesday. Wednesday's bull riding, but
right.
Tuesday driving from far and wide to come and get a corn dog.
Rodeo food is the most underrated. As far as concessions go, the rodeos always have it. I mean,
what do rodeos do?
Ute Stampede.
What do rodeos do? What do the carnival food places do? They are pioneers of insanely unhealthy foods that you need to have.
Absolutely.
So at the very least, you're going to
I'm not going to the rodeo to eat broccoli.
Look,
I'll tell you that.
listen,
I can do that any day.
Somebody was in a kitchen.
Give me that funnel cake.
Somebody was in a kitchen 8 months ago, and whatever crazy creation they came up with, you're going to be able to enjoy it at the Ute Stampede Rodeo this year. So you're going to want to go down, check it out. The City of Fun, of course, the carnivals, the games, all the stuff for the kids. And then on top of it, the actual rodeo events are phenomenal. Go check it out for yourself. UteStampedeRodeo.com. Tell me again what some of the dollars off type situations and and if you combo tickets together too, you can get into other events as well. So tell us what we have. If somebody goes to UteStampedeRodeo.com, what can they save?
So $2 off across the board right now until July 1st. And all of our promotions are till July 1st right now. But we also are running with our bull riding that's on the 10th. We're running a special. If you buy a bull riding ticket, you can get a Thursday night ticket half off, which is about $5-6. So it is being presented as a bundle. So if you want to call it a bundle and come 2 nights, the great thing is all the things we've been talking about are available those 2 nights. And we're anticipating Wednesday with the carnival that folks are going to have, I'm not going to say light crowds, but a lighter crowd, so you can ride more rides with less time. So it's truly a good value to try and come out on Wednesday and Thursday night.
I'll get out there. Listen, I'll loosen up those rims for you too. I'll go out there, shoot a couple myself. Get those. Listen, you go out there and you get those basketball games out there. I can't pass one up.
I'll meet you there.
I can't. I can never pass those up. Yeah. UteStampedeRodeo.com is the website. You can get some money off on every ticket right now, plus combo some of those tickets and get half-price tickets as well to the Extreme Bull Riding as well. So, all right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go. Chris, thanks for hanging out, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. UteStampedeRodeo.com. More information for you there. Go check out the schedule. See all those days of events they're going to be doing down there at the Juab County Fairgrounds. More to go. 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program. Hey, it's Thursday. You know what that means? One, coming up in just a little while, we're going to be giving away some tickets to Real Salt Lake and the Houston Dynamo. Oh, that's a July 3rd. July 3rd. That's a Seinfeld bit. Remember, that's the date that he says for the how do they know when the expiration date is on milk? What are the cows tipping them off? July 3rd. I always say that for July 3rd. So, July 3rd, Houston Dynamo coming to town with Real Salt Lake. We'll give some tickets away to that in just a moment. In the meantime, though, it's that time of the week for us to be able to honor the Hercules Hero of the Week. And our winner this week is Brandon Linnell. Nominated this week, Brandon coaches girls softball in West Valley, has had the same group of girls for the last 4 years, takes his coaching seriously, but also makes sure that they're having fun and learning at the same time, helps players who have never played before and developed into that love of the game that so many great coaches do. He's great and patient with the girls, and they all like being on his team. That's the number one thing, right? They have a good time, and but they also learn about the competitive nature of it. And so Brandon Linnell is the winner this week of the Hercules Hero of the Week. Going to get a $50 Visa gift card from Hercules Credit Union and $200 of a credit to use at Beehive Meals. So another one in the books, JJ, for us. The Hercules Hero of the Week, Brandon Linnell of West Valley. So there you go.
That's cool. That's awesome. And they're going to love the Beehive Meals, especially. We always rave about those. But again, another example of someone that's doing things that really needs to be recognized. We can't have the great sports landscape we have in the state or produce the amount of great athletes the state produces without people like Brandon Linnell, who are out there giving it, they're just volunteering their time to help these young people get better at their craft. And it's a generational thing that's passed down, that knowledge and that coaching. There's so many great coaches out there in this state that are doing exactly what Brandon does. We want to recognize them. That's what I love, the Hercules Hero of the Week.
If you want to nominate a youth sports volunteer in your area who does a phenomenal job, you can, of course, go to KSLSports.com/contests and nominate them right there on the page. And then we will read those winners off on a weekly basis for the Hercules Hero of the Week so we can honor those youth sports volunteers in your neighborhood. KSLSports.com/contests. Okay. Let's chat a little bit about some of these, some things that have happened here after the passing of Willie Mays, which, by the way, my son at his baseball practice the other day, they had their, at the end of practice, they had all the boys practicing catching balls over their shoulders. And
really?
Yeah. And,
that's cool.
And they were like, and my other son was like, I don't know what they were doing. I don't know when. It's like I could count on one hand how many times I've had to even like look over my shoulder to try to catch a ball. I said, bro, Willie Mays just passed away.
Yep.
Maybe the most phenomenal catch that we've ever seen was that catch that he made, the catch and throw, the subsequent spinning throw that he made as well. It was just, and I thought it was really cool that their coaches had them do these catches over the shoulders to honor Willie Mays. So, who should be considered the best living baseball player now?
This is tough.
So, CBS Sports put a list together. Let me throw some names out there for you. Okay. Mike Schmidt, Pedro Martinez, Barry Bonds, Greg Maddux, Albert Pujols, Johnny Bench is still with us. That's good. Now, why didn't you put Pete Rose on this list, Jeremy? I know it's a
This
CBS.
wasn't my list.
I know it wasn't your list, but I know we're keeping him out of the Hall of Fame, but does that mean we don't consider him part of any kind of the baseball zeitgeist, right?
Blame CBS for that, not me.
What about my guy Ichiro? How come he's not on the list?
Make your own list. You're good.
Listen, Ichiro.
Pick your own.
Sandy Koufax, you're like,
Would
maybe.
you go with Ichiro?
Sandy Koufax still with us?
He
Yes,
is.
they mentioned there.
Sandy Koufax is still with us.
Okay. See, all I'm saying is some of the guys on this list. So let me throw out some of mine. Pete Rose should definitely be he's a top 3 guy probably. If you're talking about people who are alive, the career hits just alone put him in that conversation. And again, like I said, you may not like Pete Rose as a person. Heaven knows most of us don't.
Where's Nolan Ryan? 7 no-hitters?
Nolan Ryan, aside from beating up
Robin Ventura.
Aside from beating up Robbie Ventura, he also, somebody posted the other day on Twitter, the time that he got hit in the face by a Bo Jackson liner. He is bleeding down his entire Rangers uniform. They stitched him up in the dugout between innings. He went on to strike out 7 more and had a complete game. And Nolan Ryan had 7 no-hitters. Now, pitchers it's a tough time to be a pitcher. Pedro Martinez, phenomenal. Probably the most, I'd say Pedro was maybe the most dominant pitcher in terms of control and just guys who just get twisted up when Pedro Martinez is on the mound. And he was that guy, too, who would go 9 innings. Because nowadays it's like you pitch 6 and a third and you're a freaking hero, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
They're pulling guys out with no hitters after 7 innings.
Yes.
All-Star
It's
game strikes out
ridiculous.
5 guys, 2 innings. Strikes
5
out the
guys
side.
in 2 innings. Strikes out the side and then 2 more in the All-Star game. These guys are trying not to get embarrassed. And then they tried to pretend like, oh, just having fun out here. The best players in the freaking game. And Greg Maddux might be on that list too. And if we're not putting Pete Rose on the list, why are they putting Barry Bonds on the list? You see what I'm saying?
Well, here's the problem with this conversation is the steroid era really clouded our judgment here. Because there was a lot of superstars during the 90s that weren't clean. And we don't know how to judge that era.
Right.
So I'm going to throw out.
But Pete Rose, at the very least, his on-field stuff wasn't tainted by the idea of performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can make the case for Pete Rose in
How
this
about somebody who's still
conversation.
playing? How about somebody who's still playing right now? How about like an Aaron Judge or a Shohei Ohtani? I know they've been Aaron Judge's been in the league 7 years now. But Shohei Ohtani's doing something. Shohei Ohtani's doing something we've never seen in non-black and white footage in baseball.
Agree.
So
I got some names to throw out for consideration.
Ichiro, perfect.
Derek Jeter.
The captain.
The captain.
Maybe the most boring superstar baseball player ever.
But he's there.
It's fine.
He was consistent over a long period of time. Got 99.7% of the Hall of Fame vote. My personal pick, my favorite, my best player currently living that ever lived is Ken Griffey Jr.
The kid. See,
I'm going with Griffey.
You know I get clouded by the Mariners stuff, and so I don't want to be that guy.
No.
But he is one of the guys.
It's a shame that he never got to play in a World Series and
he's the
win a
only
title,
one
wow, he's good.
of the modern era who's over 650 home runs who is not tied to performance-enhancing drugs.
Correct. His combination of his offense, I mean, did anybody have a better swing? And then you combine it with his defensive prowess in center field. I think only Willie Mays was a better center fielder than Ken Griffey Jr.
So that was one of my favorite things ever is when he stole that. His dad called him off on a fly out. And his dad's like, so imagine you're playing a Major League Baseball game. Your son is playing center field. He's by far the better player, but he's young, you know, and your dad's playing left field. But, you know, usually the center fielder is the one who calls people off of balls or not, but not when your dad's the left fielder. So ball gets lined to left field. Ken Griffey Sr. is like, all right, I got it. And then out of the frame comes Ken Griffey Jr., his son, steals the ball out of his dad's glove and just laughs as he's running to the dugout. As his dad's like, you freaking kid. He put a little half smile on his face for fun. But Ken Griffey's smile may have been the coolest thing ever, too. Is Bo Jackson deserving to be on that list? I don't think he's strong enough good years of baseball.
He's not a Hall of
together.
Famer.
No.
You got to be either a Hall of Famer or surefire. Let me throw out a few more from the 80s, 90s. Ricky Henderson. Cal Ripken Jr. should be in consideration.
Why not?
George Brett should be in consideration. And here's one you didn't think of. You already mentioned Nolan Ryan, which is a great one. Only one player has ever had 100% of the Hall of Fame vote. Mariano Rivera.
Ah!
The greatest closer of all time.
He was an Enter
The
Sandman guy, wasn't he?
player. Yes, he was.
Where's the Huey Lewis? Please don't.
Do it. Do it.
I'm trying to think, too. Who is that? Who is the old guy who's like 50 years old?
There we go.
Who's the guy who's like 50?
Mariano Rivera coming out of the bullpen.
Who is the guy that was like 50 years old throwing knuckleball till he was like, no.
Charlie Huff?
Tim Wakefield passed away recently. Charlie Huff.
Yep.
Charlie Huff was legitimately looked like my grandpa out on the field, but would like strike guys out with
Charlie Huff looked like he was 60 when he was 30.
I know, and he seriously pitched for 28 seasons or something like that.
He probably had bourbon in the dugout.
He's drinking a bourbon in the dugout, and Jim Leland is out there smoking some heaters, trying to hide him in the dugout. Remember when Jim Leland would try to sneak? Look at Charlie Huff. He's old as the hills, man. He's still with us, isn't he? I don't want to do this.
He looks like he's 90 and he's only 75.
This is a bad list for me, Jeremy, because it's like who is still alive.
He's 76 years old.
I assume everybody's dead. I'm
Charlie Huff played for the Marlins.
Oh yeah, he threw like a no hitter for the Marlins. I feel like
we're making stuff up now.
He definitely looked like they cast this movie weird. That guy doesn't look like a baseball player. That's what he looked like. My goodness.
That's a blast. Everybody that grew up in our generation had a Charlie Huff baseball card.
No.
All-star with the Rangers in 1986.
That's where he was an all-star, was the Rangers?
Yes.
Jeez.
Hey, but people forget he was a really good pitcher with the Dodgers back in the 70s.
Yes, remember when they made guys pitch for like 78 innings in a row? Like they're all, hey, you're pitching tomorrow too. I know you pitched 19 innings today. You're going to need to do the same thing tomorrow. Here's your heroin.
A little different these days.
To get through it.
Well, back then they weren't paying $30 million a year for a pitcher that was going to eventually tear his UCL.
They're all UCL. Never heard of it.
Your elbow hurts. Get back out there.
UC, hell no. You're pitching today, son.
Rub some dirt on it.
All right, we're going to take a break. We will come back and we'll give away those tickets. We want if you missed a portion of the conversation that Howard Beck had. Howard Beck from The Ringer had a conversation with Hans Scotty today. We'll play a minute 30 clip of his discussion about the Jazz, what he had to say on Hans Scotty today. And like I said, RSL tickets waiting in the wings. So stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You got. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. That was actually an underrated conversation we just had about the best still living baseball player right now. It was a slam dunk. It was Willie Mays until he passed away this week.
No doubt.
So going through the list now of Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, all of that, it's a wild thing to go through and guess.
All those big names, the romanticized names that we didn't get to see, and not a lot of video exists of, like the Babe Ruths and the Hank Aaron's and guys like Willie Mays and some of those guys and Satchel Paige, like all the old-time Hall of Famers, Mickey Mantle. There's just not a lot of video of those guys. That whole generation is gone.
Yeah.
And so now we have this. Now it's a really interesting question. Who's the greatest living MLB player? And you're all over the map trying to figure that out.
I don't think it can be a pitcher. I don't think it can be.
That's why I go with Ken Griffey Jr.
I think the kid is about as good of a pick as you can get. Because
Cal
pitchers,
Ripken's a close second.
Like I know pitchers, and look, Cal Ripken is the Iron Man, right?
Yep. And not only that, but he was just a great two-way player.
Yeah.
Well, 5-tool, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, he played. He
was one of the best defensive shortstops,
yes.
and he was a great hitter.
If Tony Gwynn were still alive, it'd be Tony Gwynn probably right now. Just
one more name I'll throw out there we didn't mention.
Let me hear it.
Reggie Jackson.
He's still with us.
Yes,
Mr. October.
He's at Rickwood Field today for the celebration.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. They had. So I think Major League Baseball is going to play a game out there in a month.
Yes, they are.
Oh, is it tonight?
Yep, it's tonight.
There's another one. Yeah, they're doing a couple games in different places across the country. That
the timing with Willie Mays passing is
Pretty phenomenal.
Poignant.
Yeah. All right. Let me give the phone number out real quick here, because I want somebody to win some tickets. A pair of tickets to Real Salt Lake and the Houston Dynamo coming up on July 3rd at America First Field. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-9663. Get your pair of tickets to Real Salt Lake and the Houston Dynamo coming up on July 3rd. So there you go. Okay. Howard Beck from The Ringer went on Hans and Scotty's show today, right before we came on. And so I thought, you know what? JJ heard the same thing I did, and an interesting conversation, because as soon as the Jazz kind of came up, obviously, they wanted to ask some questions about it and what that looks like going forward in the next month as the front office is trying to make some moves to improve this team. How long is it going to be until you see an improved team? Here's what he had to say about it.
Plenty of speculation and plenty of big names that could move around this summer in free agency or trade. It's usually less than the number of players we actually talk about. I don't know that there's any big opportunity there. And I'll say this, and I don't mean it to sound like a hot take. I think there's more likely of the Jazz taking a step back than taking a step forward. Like, if somebody made them a sweetheart deal for Lauri Markkanen, that wouldn't surprise me either. Because the fact is this, if you look at where the Jazz are right now, and you look at the teams ahead of them, and you look at the fact that a team like the Grizzlies were only down because of injuries, you know, they were, top 3 just a year ago. They're going to bounce back. And the Spurs now have Wembanyama and are going to keep building around him, and the Rockets are already starting to make their leap. Where's the room for the Jazz to be like a trade or two or one big game hunt away from being in playoff contention? It's really crowded. And now there are teams that are on the downside, right? Like the Lakers, we don't know how much longer they're going to be a really good team, but as long as LeBron is around, they're going to be in the mix. The Warriors have age issues. The Clippers have age issues and could lose Paul George. But I just don't see where the path is for the Jazz to make some swing this summer and be like, okay, we're back in business. So I think it's either something smaller around the margins or, again, not to be hot takey, but if somebody made them a great offer for Lauri Markkanen and it was one more step back to take steps forward later when there's more of an opportunity to actually climb the standings, that would seem like a plausible way to go to.
Eek, bro.
He's not wrong, which makes me cringe. Because here's the reality, is he's probably right. And if he's probably right, that means how do the Jazz improve this summer? It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really, really hard. And so what do? You take another year. You try to really position yourself for the best pick you can get in the 2025 NBA draft. It's supposed to be a phenomenal draft. Cooper Flagg, we've all seen the highlights. We know how good he looks. And there's more. He's not just the only player. It's going to be a good draft.
Yegar Dolman out of BYU.
You're laughing. You're laughing. Cannon Catchings. It's what we just said is nuts. That's a different conversation. But there's going to be a lot of talent in that draft. And so the Jazz might be to the benefit of the franchise to be heavily involved in that draft than to take one. What is your move right now? Zach LaVine? We just talked about it earlier with the Bulls trading Caruso to the Thunder for Josh Giddey. They're obviously tearing some things down here. They want to get rid of Zach LaVine. Is Zach LaVine the difference? That's the kind of player right now, as of 5:02 on June 20th, just 6 days away from the draft. You know, that's the move to make, and that's not going to help you. That's not putting you over the top.
Go hockey. Is that what I'm hearing?
We're going to be very focused on hockey next season. Let me just say that.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. It's another edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. Together we comprise the team that is JJ and Alex. I'm just looking at they were just showing a Trevor Lawrence press conference, and they have the really classy Jaguars logo behind. What's the worst logo in sports? Is it the Browns just because their logo is a helmet of their color?
They have that. What is that little?
Oh, they have the. Is it inappropriate to call him a munchkin? Because that's what he is. He's like an elf or a munchkin.
Something like that.
He's
That's
like
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But it's a good question.
That's not really the primary look. I'm trying to think what the worst logo in sports is. Basketball's got some bad ones. And have had bad ones over the years. And it's just like there's some that are bad. Colleges, there's just so many of them that there's a lot of misses. I'm trying to think. You keep that in your head what the worst logo in sports is, because the Jags have a really bad one. It's just a dumb logo. And I wish that you would like. That's why you got to roll out when the Utah Hockey Club becomes the Yeti or whomever, but the Yeti. We got to figure it out. Got to figure it out, because you don't want to have a crap logo that you're going to have to keep figuring out over the years and tampering with to try to make it look good. You don't want that. Joining us on the program right now as we kick off the hour, of course, our program is brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. You got to try a G2G bar for a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Let's kick things off with Ben Anderson. It's The Cut right here at the top of the hour.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ben Anderson, Jake and Ben fame, of course. This portion of the show brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Also, The Cut brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. Ben, what's the worst logo in sports? I'm putting you on the spot here, but you at least had some lead time to think about it. I'm thinking about some of these crappy ones that are out there. I don't know if the NBA has the corner on the market on some of these, but maybe there's one that just pisses you off when you see it.
I hate the Florida Panthers logo now in the Stanley Cup.
You know what? Yes. It's a very tame-looking panther that looks like
the colors don't do anything for Florida. Like Miami, the Dolphins' colors feel like Florida.
Yes.
Tampa Bay feels like Tampa Bay. Like the colors match the state or the city. Panthers is just like red and gold, I think, and some black or some blue. It's just like why did you pick any of that?
Well, I love how it looks like the Panthers taking his senior picture. And he's just like very mild looking. And yes, when tan is a big part of your color scheme, that's not a good one.
I think the Warriors is dumb too.
That's a bad sign.
Yeah, the Warriors. It's
the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's not golden.
But it also looks like an off-center picture of the bridge.
I don't know. It's just like what is that?
I could hate on a lot of logos.
I shouldn't have to think when I'm looking at your logo. The New York Islanders logo is also terrible.
That's really bad. Ben, let's get to some of the things that have happened today in the world of basketball. How about Monty Williams failing upward as a coach? Who's the worst? Who is it worse to be right now? Is it Monty Williams? You get fired, but you get to sit at home and collect 2 different paychecks from 2 different organizations. I'm trying to figure out, or is it like, a guy like Jimbo Fisher, same thing, $70 million. You don't get to coach the thing. You don't get to be the pro that you trained to be, but at least you're going to get a payday. We have gone in such a weird direction at professional sports when it comes to paying out coaches that we don't feel like did a good enough job.
Yeah, I guess I'd rather be Monty Williams than the owner of the Pistons, who's paying him to not coach. I mean, that's insane to me. So I would hate to be a part of that. Matt Ishbia, who owns the Suns, is still paying him and is one of the biggest donors to Michigan State. And who's the Michigan State football coach who just got fired?
Mel Tucker.
Yeah.
Mel Tucker just got bought out. I mean, he's paying Mel Tucker's salary. He's probably paying the new salary, and he's paying Monty Williams' salary. So there's just a lot of those. It's bad. And look, they had to pay Monty a bunch of money to coach. I know he'd been fired by the Suns, but he was going to take a year off. His wife's having health issues. And they just kept raising the price, it sounded like, until he agreed, and then they fired him after 1 year. So it was just a huge mistake from a organization that does nothing but make huge mistakes.
Yeah, it gives you more. And I know that the Jazz are a little down this year, or down recently, but it gives you a lot of, makes you feel better about what the organization is here, that the Jazz have a lot of people with cooler heads and make a lot of more smart decisions. They got some big decisions to make right now. There's a lot of stuff going on around the league. The Jazz improve in free agency, trade, draft. The buzz today, at least it was from that, aside from JJ Reddick getting hired by the Lakers coach, we might get to that in a second. But the Bulls made a trade today to send Alex Caruso to the Thunder for Josh Giddey. And there's a lot of buzz about Zach LaVine being available. And I bring that up because there's already rumors tied to the Jazz and LaVine. Would that make any sense for the Jazz to pursue that kind of a deal at all?
Maybe if you were unloading salary that you just didn't care about, but I mean, Zach LaVine gets paid a lot and doesn't play a lot.
Right.
And he's good. He's super talented, and he's never won a whole lot, which I think is a red flag. And he does need the ball, so you're changing everything you do to kind of build around him, which maybe that fits. Maybe he works really well with Lauri Markkanen, and you have a go-to guy who, it scores at least 19 points a game every game, which actually isn't that crazy of a number, but has the ability to be in the mid to high 20s as well and shoots the three a lot. Like, everything he does is likable. And then there's still one of those things where you're just like, there's not quite enough substance there. Like, all the numbers say yes, and then all the production says no. And I think those guys you always have to be a little careful about.
When you see, these draft boards, and a year like this year where there isn't like a consensus, like for sure that's going to be the top pick, there you could see teams going a couple of different directions. When you have a number of names that could be at the top of the draft, is that a draft that you see a team like the Jazz getting more involved in buying into early on, or less involved? Do they wait another extra year and say, no, we want to be a part of the sweepstakes for maybe a couple of big-time players versus, a handful of guys who are in a down year in the draft?
Yeah, I think that's a tough question because I think it increases the likelihood that maybe somebody slips and they see somebody at 6 or 7 or something where they feel like, oh, we really got to be aggressive and move up and go get that guy because, we thought he was going to be the third best player in this draft and he's there at 7, and that cost is pretty easy to make up to make that trade. So you're willing to do it. I can see that probably easier than it was to trade up in last year's draft where I think it was hard to move up in that direction. But at the same time, if it's that flat, you may just say, well, why would I give up future assets for a player at 10 that or at 7 that might be just as good as the player at 10, so it's not worth investing more assets in a better draft in the future to move up in this one, it's just going to be a bit of a crapshoot. There's going to be good players. If you knew who the good players were going to be, yeah, you would absolutely move up and trade and get them, but that's just so rarely the case.
Howard Beck was on Hanson Scotty today, and we played a bit from that, but he was asked about the Jazz offseason and what they can do to get better, and he was honest, and he says, I think it's more likely that they would actually go the other direction and maybe look at if there's a great deal for Markkanen to move him and then obviously be back in the lottery again next year. What do you think the Jazz should do? I mean, not what you should do, what you think they should do, but what do you think is the most plausible? What do you think is the most realistic way that the Jazz offseason could go down? Do you think they can add some pieces, if there's some big game hunting out there to do, or is it most likely about the 2025 lottery?
Yeah, I mean, I think they want to get better, and that doesn't necessarily mean they can. And then the thing is, I think they can get worse without trading Lowry. And this is a guy who I would certainly not say the Jazz should trade him because I actually really like him, and I think he can be a part of your core going forward if you hold on to him. But if you want to get worse, you could trade Colin Sexton, and you would be worse next year. I mean, Colin, for the last 50 games of the season, was pretty spectacular. He was over 20 points. He was over 5 assists. He was super efficient as a shooter. He figured it out, just like what was being asked of him. He always plays hard on defense. Like, I think he helps you win games, especially if he and Lauri Markkanen are on the floor together. I think you're a pretty good team. And you saw when he got moved into the starting lineup was when the Jazz went on that run in late December, early January, or really through early February, where they were pretty unbeatable. If you've got those two guys healthy and ready to go with some just normal pieces around him, around those two, you're probably going to win 41 games. I mean, I think those two are that good. So if you're saying, no, you want to win 25 games, you want to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, or just anybody in this top 5 next year that's supposed to be very good, you could trade Colin. You could probably get a pretty healthy return for him and then still get a good lottery pick next year, and then have your 7-footer who shoots 40% from 3 on your roster still, which is probably the preference I would have.
The likelihood that the Jazz pick and keep all the guys at 10, 29, and 32, their picks in the draft this year, is what?
Very low, but I would have said that last year. I think this is actually even lower than last year. I think you can probably trade up combining your 2 second picks to go up to maybe 23, where the Suns are picking. I think that would make some sense for Phoenix because they just need to add more cheap players. Or maybe you can kick that 32nd pick down the road for another team's future second or 2 future seconds. And, the Jazz actually don't have a lot of second-round picks. They've made a lot of those trades in the past, and maybe Danny Ainge sees some value in those. So I could see that happening for sure. Or maybe you trade the 29th pick. The 29th pick is guaranteed money that you probably don't necessarily need to guarantee, and is going to be a very similar player to who's there at 32. So maybe you trade this year's first for another team's future top 20 protected first-round pick. And that way you keep this asset alive of a first-round pick, which, whether we want to say it's true or not, they just has value by being called a first-round pick. We like that it's first round and not second round. And that makes it more valuable in a future trade. And maybe they do that, and they say the 32nd pick is just as good, but it doesn't have the label of a first-rounder. So I very likely to happen for the Jazz, either before draft night or on draft night.
After watching this playoffs and watching the Celtics win the championship and be as dominant as they were, do you feel the Jazz are farther away from that point than you thought before, or do you think that there's a path to get that they could even get closer? I think you can toss around the idea that there's more parity in the league than ever before, but then you look at some of these young teams in the West and Boston, it's like they're not going anywhere.
Certainly Boston's not going anywhere. I think Oklahoma City could be good for a while. I like that trade that they pulled off today. And I just don't know what the rest of the league is going to look like and how quickly things are going to come and fall. And look, I mean, if I had bet my house on things I was sure of to happen in the NBA over the last 6 years, I would have lost my house 5 times. I mean, I would have told you Brooklyn was going to win a title. I would have told you the Clippers was going to win a title. And I would have told you Milwaukee and Phoenix would have at least made a conference finals again. It's just like that. Most of these teams don't even get close to that after they've been to the finals. So it's hard to feel safe betting on anything other than, well, Boston brings back their entire roster next year and they're going to be good next year. And then beyond that, it just might be so hard to keep teams together financially, or you lose a guy like Al Horford, who's such a key piece. It falls apart quickly. So I'm actually would be pretty encouraged if I'm a Jazz fan that you didn't have to have, and look, I'm not trying to say that neither Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum are very high-level all-star players, but they might not be top 3, top 4 guys, and you can still win at a very high level or the highest level with guys who are really good but aren't LeBron James great, aren't Michael Jordan great, and that's probably a positive.
Ben Anderson, Jake and Ben, of course, every day right here on the KSL Sports Zone, 10 to noon. All right, JJ Reddick, he gets the top job at the Lakers. It was the name that was thrown out there before we had even heard the Dan Hurley names. We had heard the JJ Reddick ties into there. Dan Hurley turns the job down, and now for $8 million plus a year, reportedly, and 4 years of a deal, it looks like JJ Reddick is going to be the next guy who is going to be thrown under the bus after things don't work out in L.A. Unless, how does JJ Reddick make it work in L.A.? What's a 4-year plan for a guy like him who's never coached before turn into success for them down in L.A.?
The Lakers are so sick of firing coaches that they just keep him regardless. And then LeBron retires and you say, well, I guess we'll just see if he can rebuild a team. They can't win a title. They're not close to winning a title. It doesn't matter what they do with draft picks this offseason or trades this offseason. They're not going to get close to winning a title. They were a playing team this year, right? Did they sneak up to 6th and avoid that? I think they may have gotten to 6th and got to play Denver in the first round, but they're not a good team. They've got some talented players. They've got some Hall of Famers, and I admire them. I don't hate the Lakers or watching them play, but man, they're just the pathway to get to a ring is non-existent. So that's really difficult to do, and I don't expect them to get there.
Yeah, they were 7th. They were in the play-in again this year, and I don't see, like we talked about. There's so many good teams in the West. I don't see the Lakers breaking through and getting back to that top level. Is this a case where the Lakers are thinking outside of the box and this is going to go well, or do you see this as another inept move by a Lakers organization that is not what it used to be? And if it wasn't in LA and if it wasn't the Lakers, we'd be making fun of it like the New York Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't think JJ's a bad hire. I mean, there have been a lot of players like JJ who have been hired before. We hire specifically guards usually. We hire guys now, generally point guards, and that's not what JJ Reddick was. We don't hire a lot of pure shooters, but Steve Kerr has a job and has a bunch of titles. So
he went to Duke, so he's got to be smart, right?
He's got to be smart. And Craig Hoiberg's gotten jobs, and Jeff Hornacek's gotten jobs. So we like shooters, and they've had jobs. Not all of them were successful. Jeff Hornacek had mixed success. Hoiberg had mixed success, probably better in college than the pros. So it's not like it's the most outlandish hire of all time, and there are comps. I kind of say this about every coaching job. I could love it, and I just have no idea if it's going to work. Because if we knew how it would work, it wouldn't be the highest turnover job on the planet. It's so hard to find the right culture and the right winner. And look, one day you're a bozo, and one day you're the best coach in the league. Last year, everyone made fun of Joe Mazzulla for the decisions he made in the playoffs and how he wasn't ready to coach a finals team, and now everyone praises all the weird stuff he does to become an NBA champion, watching, The Town every night like he says he does. It's like Michael Malone seems like the greatest coach in the world and then couldn't figure out what to do at all in the playoffs this year. It's just I really wish I knew what made a good coach or could predict it, but you know what? I don't feel bad about it because NBA teams don't do it very well either.
Ben, we appreciate taking some extra time and trying to help us understand these off seasons that get to be so weird and shorter. It seems like these days in the NBA, and so we're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to better days for Jazz fans. Thanks for hanging out, man. We'll be listening.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
There you go, Ben Anderson, everybody.
Available on approved credit. Eligibility and conditions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The Oilers don't actually have a very good logo either. The Edmonton Oilers. We're just talking about bad logos in sports. Huh?
You don't like their logo?
Well, I mean, it's
I think their color scheme is
No, the colors
awesome.
are phenomenal. Colors are phenomenal. But the Oilers logo itself is not very good.
Okay.
Gosh.
Like we talked about, Ben said the Panthers logo sucks, and I think the Oilers logo is better than the Panthers.
For sure. But I'm just saying, I just saw the Oilers one, and I was like, oh, yeah. By the way, we didn't even get to talk about it, but that series has gotten wild, right?
If you're a Florida Panthers fan, all three of you, you've got to be so nervous right now because you're about to choke a 3-0 lead.
So this is, again...
There's no way they win Game 6, right?
This was, again, me having a conversation with my buddy Matt, the Golden Knights fan. And he was like, he texted me as soon as that game got over on Tuesday night, he goes, this series has officially hit a weird spot, and I'm here for all of it. Like, you want to have this one, because they're going back to Edmonton for Game 6. Connor McDavid is, according to experts, the best hockey player of his generation.
Yeah, he is the number one player in the game.
Ever, according to some. It's the old adage that, if he played back in the day, he would have been scoring a cajillion points. But the reality is that it is dicey right now. It is like pee your pants weather up in Edmonton. For how nerve-wracking that one is. We never got to talk about it the other night.
No, we didn't. We didn't get to react to that. We didn't get to react to the passing of Willie Mays.
Connor McDavid has 42 points in the playoffs.
Only Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux have had more points in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Is it that they had more, or did he pass them? Because I thought they had 40
They've
apiece.
had more. He's joined elite company with those guys.
Super Mario and
so yes, Connor McDavid is the best player in hockey right now, and he's becoming one of the all-time greats.
Yeah. Well, bottom line is
guess what? You got to play him. Although they're not in the same division, but we get to see him at the Delta Center this year, probably twice.
Let's go. But here's the other thing. I love the idea of them blowing a 3-0 lead, and I love the idea. Connor McDavid, by the way, he's already one of the best players ever, right? And certainly the best player of this generation. But guess what? You come back from a 3-0 deficit in the Stanley Cup final, you'll probably put yourself in the top 3 in terms of like lore and legacy.
No question.
Right? Maybe joining another guy who used to wear an Edmonton Oilers uni.
Right along with him.
Before Connor McDavid comes to Utah at some point in his career to finish things off. No? You don't see that happening? He's going to finish out there?
You can only hope.
All right. NFL music, of course, means NFL Roundup or NFL Blitz. All right, here we go. First things first. Could there be a salary cap for quarterback contracts? The insane arms race that is the per year salary and the one guy getting paid insane and then the next guy getting paid insane. It has become kind of a crazy thing. Owners have apparently already, quote unquote, unofficially spoken about it, which could also be against the collective bargaining agreement and a collusion situation. But at the same time, there is no end to the quarterbacks just keep getting paid and paid and paid and paid and restructuring contracts, and there seems to be no end in sight.
Yeah, and it sounds like the owners aren't supposed to be talking about this, which could be a little bit of a collusion problem.
Tell a bunch of those guys not to
these
talk
idiot
about
owners
stuff.
in
Come
the
on.
NFL that think they can get away with this crap. Like Jerry getting on the phone talking to.
Now, I talked to one of my guys the other day. He said, we shouldn't be talking about this unless we get on WhatsApp together.
Jerry Jones on WhatsApp.
Now, that's where I usually meet my ladies.
Oh,
that's
no.
where he
You
is.
open another can of worms.
That's
there.
where he is, right? Now,
I
look,
bet Jerry Jones is on Snap.
I'd love to talk about this.
I bet he slips into some DMs.
I'd love to talk to you about this, but I have a meeting with my lawyer about another paternity case.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it's always fun to make fun of the Cowboys, right?
You are not the father, Jerry.
Oh. Here's the problem going forward. If you're hoping that the NFL is going to add another game to this season, making an even 18-game NFL schedule, 46% said they were in favor of an 18-game schedule with stipulations of course, getting more money. 8 said yes without stipulations. 19% said that they were completely against a regular season schedule expansion. That's almost a quarter of your guys.
Yeah, 1 out of 5
say that they don't want to. They don't even want to even talk about it. Like, hey, remember how we were just talking about player safety and my body and whether or not I can continue to live past the age of 60, which a lot of former NFL guys are not able to do. I mean, just look at the numbers. The age at which NFL players, if they played in the league 10 plus years, their mortality rate is absolutely abysmal.
Yeah.
And you know what? That should be talked about. But players currently get just under 50% of the football revenue, and they're hoping to maybe get over that 50% mark. I think all the other major sports, they're just above that 50% mark of the revenue. And the NFL, obviously, they've got their guys over a barrel a little bit, which is one of the knocks that they have on the Shield, is that they take too big of a bite and don't respect those players enough.
That's why they've had labor strife in the past, and hopefully we can avoid it in the future.
We're starting to find out some of the tyranny that was committed by Eric Bieniemy when he was the Commanders' offensive coordinator. We already knew. Here's the thing: is we already knew that he kind of has a reputation of being a hard A.
There's
right?
a reason why he hasn't got that head coaching job in the NFL.
So apparently, he did not allow Commanders' offensive players to wear their hats backwards on the property. Which, pick your battles. If that's your battle you want to have, fine. I do think that there should be, the NFL needs to get back a little bit more of that. Hey, let's respect coaches, etc. But the players are the ones who pull the strings in a lot of those locker rooms. Unless you have a Hall of Fame head coach, it's hard to really get these kids to listen to you these days.
Even then, it's kind of weird, right? Because he was with the Chiefs. Andy Reid has been, many consider probably a players coach guy, and he lets guys be themselves.
Oh, yeah.
It's weird that Eric was
He's
so
all
different.
chilled out. Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people know this. Eric's not even in the NFL anymore.
Yeah, he's a college guy now.
Yeah, he's the associate head coach and offensive coordinator for the UCLA Bruins of the Big Ten.
Of the Big Ten. All right, that's enough time we have for the Blitz today. We'll have to come back to it again.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, yes, welcome back. It is Best and Worst, wrapping up the third hour. There's a third hour show already? Jeez. Wrapping up the third hour of the program. Thanks for being with us on the show, JJ and Alex. Boy, I tell you, middle of the week day off is weird.
Yeah, I'm all out of whack. Is it Monday? What day of the week is it? Or is it Friday?
I'm a big fan of figuring out
I'm a big fan of us figuring out how to take a 5-day weekend after a situation like that.
That would be nice.
Hey, but you know what? If you came into the same parking garage I did, we know some people who are taking a 5-day weekend. I think 4th of July we're running into something similar, right? What's the calendar?
Sunday afternoon in the parking lot right now.
I'm trying to figure out what July. Yeah, July's a Thursday. Yeah. What are we going to do? Because does that mean we're coming back to work on Friday? Probably.
Not all of us.
I'll tell you who's not. Any managers.
Yep. Nobody that has to be live on TV or radio.
Got a sales call I got to make, too.
Right.
Got a really important midday sales call on July 5th.
Make that from the lake.
I'm just saying, let's all get together and let's be smart about this. Let's be smart about it. You have people who want to take some time off. You want to reward them, giving them a holiday. Great. 4th and 5th. Talk to you later. All right? Look, let's not overdo it. Let's not overthink it. Who wants to come back on a Friday? Nobody.
With
all those firework burns? I mean, that could... No, you got to get yourself right over the
I work on the
weekend.
TV side. That's big business. There'll be plenty of fires to chase on July 5th. Trust me. Alex Cabrero's ready.
Oh, listen.
Mark Weaver's ready.
So we were in East Salt Lake for years, and that firework line... Because as soon as we started allowing, aerial fireworks, in Utah, the bets were off, right? We started having the cake fireworks there. So... At one point, it was like, hey, because we lived right off of Foothill. It's like, hey, east of Foothill, you're not firing off any fireworks. Okay, can't do that.
Yeah.
And then it was like, hey, east of 21st South, you're not firing off any fireworks. Hey, east of 17th, every year it just keeps moving it. Now it's basically like if you're east of I-15, there's not a firework you could ever fire off anywhere.
Where can you fire them off?
I have no idea because you look at the maps now, it's a lot of red.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it. Don't fire them off. We don't need them up in the hills.
We don't need to set anything on fire.
So be safe. And a good way to make sure that I don't set off a bunch of fireworks is you give me a 4-day weekend. Just a
Is that the deal that needs
incentive.
To be made? Give me a 4-day weekend.
I won't go.
No forest fires.
I won't go to Evanston and buy the illegal stuff if I can have a 4-day weekend. Okay. All right. Let me see here. Best and worst. You know how it goes, JJ. Oh, best and worst. By the way, brought to you by our friends, of course, at the Doug Smith dealerships. Easy enough to find. Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit Doug Smith in American Fork or Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug. All right. Best is, I cannot believe it's still going. The unbeaten match streak for Real Salt Lake has now gotten to historic levels, insane levels. 15 straight matches without a loss. They just beat Kansas City Sporting, which that's one of those that you like to get. You got to get that.
That's a hated rival.
They don't
There's
like
a
each
long
other.
History there.
And listen, here's the other thing.
That feels good.
Because I think there's been, during this streak, there's been, a 5-3 match. There's been against Colorado. Yeah. That was a come from behind. That was great. So an 8-goal match there, 7-goal match with Kansas City. We already gave away some Real Salt Lake tickets today. So hot ticket in town is Real Salt Lake. It's awesome. I mean, hey, guess what? Ryan Smith Ownership Group.
SCG.
So
it's a good to be SCG right now, and it's one of the best stories in Major League Soccer, and it needs to be talked about more because 15 games without a loss is pretty impressive. And Real Salt Lake's in first place right now, 37 points. Only Miami and Cincinnati have more in the league, and this team has got a chance to win a cup. And I didn't think before the season they even had a chance at the playoffs.
Nope.
It's amazing.
By the way, Kansas City, Sporting Kansas City, or Kansas City, whatever we call them, do we swap the colors with them? Does Real Salt Lake at some point move over to Mountain Black, or what is it, Rock Black?
Yeah, what's up with that? Hey, Sporting Kansas City's got Salt White.
Yes,
give it back.
Yes, and Mountain Blue. Tell me which mountains are out there in Kansas City.
If Real Salt Lake could stick it to Sporting Kansas City somehow, some way, they'll do it.
But that's what I'm saying. Are they going to say the Claret and Cobalt?
Hey, you got a 20-year tradition now with those colors.
You can't not. I get it.
Can you believe Real Salt Lake's, almost 20 years old? It's just crazy.
It's bonkers. And then the worst. This is an actual worst, too. You're headed to the Olympics. You make the swim team for France. Much like 17-year-old Raphael Fente-Damal. Did you hear the French on there?
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done. You're getting ready for the Olympics.
That's
I like
right.
it.
He dislocated his shoulder celebrating after qualifying for the Olympics, and now his status for the games is actually TBD.
That's brutal. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
I know, and you know what? No guarantee you're gonna. He's 17, so obviously he's got a lot of talent. But I just think about all the stupid stuff that has happened in celebration. So my best friend in high school separated shoulder when he was celebrating one time in high school too. I think it was who's Martin Grammatica's dad, or was his dad Bill Grammatica? Remember when he kicked for the Cardinals?
No, wasn't it Martin who tore his ACL?
It was one of the Grammaticas. I think it was Bill Grammatica. This was back in like 2001. Tore his ACL while jumping.
Bill Grammatica.
It was Bill
You're
Grammatica.
Right, it was Bill.
So Bill Grammatica, he separated it, or he tore his ACL jumping after he made a field goal. And he was a rookie too. No guarantee you're going to make a team after that, whatever. But man, the amount of times, I can't remember who it was from the Angels who broke his ankle when he stepped on home plate after a home run.
Yeah, jumped up and on the
jumped
air.
Jumped way into the air and jumped onto the plate and broke his ankle. Gosh. People thought he was joking. It's look, just here are the people. Here's what happens. This is where the term "act like you've been there before," JJ, really comes into play. I'm not asking you not to be excited, but your body is specifically designed for these things you've been doing on the court or on the field or on the pitch or whatever. So when you go outside of that, like celebrating making the Olympic team, and then you separate your shoulder and actually put your Olympics in danger, that's awful. I'll tell you who loved that though. The alternate, the guy who made the team as an alternate.
Yes. Now I'm back in.
He's like he might end up actually having.
Yeah, I'm just started getting memories of all those celebrations. Remember Gus Farrat, 97, hitting his head against the wall. He butted his head against the padded wall and he got a concussion.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Lindsey Vonn once tore or cut a tendon on her thumb, by trying to open a bottle of champagne after winning a race.
Oh my gosh! See,
Kendra Morales, I think, was the one you're talking about that jumped on the.
Yes.
Yep.
Angel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So my goodness.
Former B.
Don't say it like that. All right. There it is. We'll take the break here for this hour. We'll come back again around the corner. So don't miss any of it. Stay right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Speaking of mashups, we had the Enter Sandman with Huey Lewis and the News.
Classic. That made my day.
What are these Zelda theme song made into an EDM situation?
I know a lot of you out there that are my age spent way too much time playing Legend of Zelda back in the mid to late 80s.
I have a neighbor named Link.
That's crazy.
It's not short for anything. It is Link.
Well, now, I mean, it continues to endure because you get all those Zelda games on the Switch now. They're still Zelda games. They're still making them 30 years later.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Mario.
Oh, yeah.
Can't get enough, huh?
I cannot. I will keep buying it. I'm just pissed they don't have they're not gonna have NCAA college football on the Switch.
No,
they're not. Well, I don't think they are. You just not enough processing power. It's for video games. It's for little kid video games.
That's fair.
All right.
Glad I got that PS5 in my basement collecting dust. I'll play it on that.
It's collecting dust. Jeez, sell it to
my
Jeremy.
kids just like play on phones now. They don't even play systems.
See? Interesting.
What's going on?
It's 2024, man.
Like everybody wants the smallest screen possible, and even then, for their entertainment.
Even then, it's basically 2025 at this point, right?
We're halfway there.
Let me see here. Join Hans and Scotty, by the way. The Day of Adoption's coming up. That's next week in partnership with the Humane Society of Utah and Hercules Credit Union. Just $12.80 per adoption all day long on June 25th. That's next week, so go check it out. The Zone's going to be there with the Humane Society of Utah in Murray, 10 to 3 at their location there. Bring home a furry friend on the Hans and Scotty Day of Adoption. There you go. LeBron, according to sources,
Rich Paul.
Yeah, but Rich Paul,
Mr. Adele.
Yeah, he's not Wendy. His second agent. He's not Brian Windhorst. But yes, is Rich Paul married to? He's married to Adele.
Not married.
Oh,
they are a thing.
Does he have to live at the residency in Vegas or whatever? Come move into my penthouse apartment at Circus. LeBron James is not going to sign a veteran's minimum contract. That's what the agent would say when the agent does not want to make veteran minimum
Captain
commissions.
Obvious.
There you go. Now, that, of course, was brought up because Bronny Jr., he could find a landing spot at Phoenix. And if that were the case, would his dad want to play with Bronny so much that he'd want to go to Phoenix and do it for the league minimum? And why the league minimum? Because the Suns are leveraged into oblivion at this point. They do not have any space to offer LeBron James any money to play there. Are they ever going to play together, do you think?
No.
Does Bronny James Jr. find himself in a starting lineup ever in the NBA?
No. He couldn't find himself in a starting lineup at USC. I don't mean to bash on a kid. He's in a really tough spot.
But here goes.
He's the son of LeBron James. I can't imagine the expectations and the weight he's had to carry because of who his dad is and trying to establish his own legacy. But the Lakers pick 55th in the second round. That's his only shot, I think, of getting drafted.
Okay.
Because no one else has worked him out. They haven't sent him. Are you trying to get drafted or not?
No.
You just want to become a free agent? Is that the goal here? Why would you do this? What are they doing? What's their strategy? Doesn't make any sense.
They probably got the news that he's not really a draftable guy.
Then go back to school.
Yeah, I agree. All right. For JJ, I'm Alex, our producer Jeremy. We'll be back again tomorrow for a Friday edition of the program. We'll be back then. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.